I paid $30,000 for my daughter's wedding, but when she chose my ex's husband over me, I canceled everything and watched her crumble on camera. Hello Reddit I+ here. My name is Leonard, I'm 52 years old, and I spent nearly half my life working to build something from nothing. I started out as a mechanic in a rundown garage, saving every dime I could until I opened my own auto shop. Over the years, that shop grew into 3 successful locations. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. And everything I've done, every late night, every sacrifice, was always for one reason: my daughter, Isabel. She was born when I was 26. I still remember the first time I held her. Tiny, red-faced, crying like her lungs would burst. But when her eyes opened and she looked at me, the whole world seemed to quiet. I promised her, then and there, I'll never let you down. But life doesn't care about promises. My marriage to Marlene, Isabel's mother, started to crumble when Isabel was 15. At first, I thought it was just stress. Marlene was spending more time out, dressing differently, and snapping at me over little things. I found out the truth the night Isabel came home from a school dance and found Marlene in our living room, not with me, but with a man named Victor. Victor was smooth, arrogant, the kind of guy who thrives on taking what isn't his. Marlene filed for divorce a month later. The court battle was ugly. Isabel was caught in the middle. I fought for joint custody, and technically I got it, but Marlene made sure it never worked. She'd schedule Isabel's activities during my weekends. If I pushed back, she'd twist the story so I looked unreasonable. "You know your dad doesn't want you to have fun," she'd whisper to Isabel. "He only cares about controlling you." I'd show up to pick Isabel up, and she'd refuse to come with me. She was 16, angry, confused, and Marlene was feeding her poison every day. By the time Isabel graduated high school, she barely spoke to me. From age 18 to 21, Isabel cut me off completely. She blocked my number, ignored my letters, sent back unopened Christmas gifts. I'd sit at the dinner table with an extra plate, hoping one day she'd show up, but the seat stayed empty. Those were the loneliest years of my life. Then, out of nowhere, she called me on her 22nd birthday. I was in the middle of changing brake pads at my shop when I saw her name flash on my phone. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the wrench. She said, "Dad, can we get coffee?" I didn't even answer. I just grabbed my keys and drove. That day, she admitted that maybe her mom hadn't been honest about everything, that maybe she'd been too harsh. I cried right there in that cafe, not even caring who saw. My daughter was back. We started rebuilding slowly. Dinner once a month. Occasional phone calls. She told me about her job at a design firm, about the little apartment she rented downtown. When she met Martin, her future husband, she introduced him to me early. That felt like a blessing. Martin was quiet, respectful, seemed to really care about her. So when Isabel called one night, her voice bubbling with excitement, telling me Martin had proposed, my first words were, "I'll pay for the wedding." It wasn't even a question. Fathers do that. The planning began immediately. Venue: $9,000 for a historic estate with marble floors and chandeliers. Catering: $11,000 for filet mignon and salmon for 180 guests. Dress: $3,000, lace and satin, fitted like it was made for her. Flowers: $3,500, roses, lilies, cascading arrangements for every table. Photography and band: $3,500 more. I didn't blink at the total, just under $30,000. Every invoice had my name on it. Every contract was signed by me. And every time Isabel hugged me and said, "Thank you, Dad. You've always been there for me," I felt like maybe, just maybe, the past was healing. But about 6 weeks before the wedding, something changed. Calls stopped. Messages got shorter. When I asked about plans, Isabel brushed me off with, "It's handled." Then came the call. I remember her voice, distant, almost rehearsed. "Dad, I need to tell you something. Mom and Victor, they've been there for me. They've supported me. I've decided Victor should walk me down the aisle." It was like ice water poured over me. I stammered, "But I'm your father. You don't understand," she snapped. "Money doesn't make you a dad. Victor's been more of a father than you ever were. If you can't accept that, maybe you shouldn't come at all." A few days later, Martin called. His tone was calm, almost smug. "Leonard, Isabel and I talked. It's best if you don't attend. Victor will walk her down the aisle, give the speech, do the first dance. Isabel appreciates your financial contribution. Consider it your wedding gift." I hung up. That was the moment something inside me shattered. I didn't sleep that night. I walked circles in my living room, staring at $30,000 worth of receipts. The next morning, I called my lawyer. He said the money was a gift. Gone. But since every contract was in my name, I had the right to cancel. And cancel I did. The caterer, canceled. No filet mignon. The florist, canceled. No roses. The band. Gone. The venue. After threats of legal action, they backed down. I lost about $8,000 in deposits, but I didn't care. I wanted them to feel what I felt. Abandoned. 3 days before the wedding, Isabel's best friend, Monica, called me. "Leonard, Isabel's a wreck. She keeps asking about you. Are you coming?" I told her what Isabel had said, that I wasn't invited, that Victor was replacing me. Monica went silent, then said, "That doesn't sound right. Isabel never told us that." For a flicker of a moment, I doubted myself. Was this a misunderstanding? Did Martin twist things? But then I remembered Isabel's cold words. "Victor's been more of a father than you ever were." She meant it. On the morning of the wedding, curiosity got the better of me. I called the venue owner, asked if I could view the security feed. Since my name was still on the contract, he agreed. And so I sat alone in my house, watching a wedding collapse in real time. Guests arrived, dressed in tuxedos and gowns, only to find a barren hall. No flowers, no music, no food. Just confusion. By 1:30, Isabel arrived in her white gown. She looked radiant, until she realized the truth. Panic spread across her face. She ran from corner to corner, making calls, shouting orders. Nothing worked. By 2 o'clock, guests began leaving. Isabel's dress dragged through mud as she chased vendors who would never arrive. By 3 o'clock, mascara streaked her cheeks, her veil was torn, and she screamed at Martin, shoving him away when he tried to comfort her. Victor and Marlene arrived, frantic, but powerless. You can't conjure a $30,000 wedding out of thin air. By 4 o'clock, the venue was empty, except for staff cleaning up. Isabel sat alone, sobbing in a ruined dress. I turned off the feed. That night, Isabel texted me. "I'll never forgive you." I replied, "Now you know how it feels." Marlene called, shrieking that I'd destroyed Isabel's life. I hung up. Days later, Martin came to my house, looking hollow-eyed. He confessed that Marlene and Victor had pressured Isabel for months, that Isabel repeated their words, that she hadn't wanted to cut me out but caved under their manipulation. Now Isabel was crushed under guilt, hiding at her mother's house, refusing to eat or leave her room. Martin begged me. "She wants to reach out, but she's too ashamed. She thinks you'll never forgive her, and maybe she's right." Do I regret canceling the wedding? Sometimes. I think about Isabel's face on that security feed, broken and humiliated. But then, I remember her voice, cold as ice, telling me I wasn't her father. And I think, maybe she needed this lesson. Maybe they all did. Because love isn't free, respect isn't optional, and you can't replace a father with a wallet. Not anymore. The failed wedding became the scandal of the town. People whispered about it at church, at grocery stores, at my auto shop. Some versions of the story painted me as a monster, a father who deliberately destroyed his daughter's happiness out of spite. Others blamed Isabel, saying she was ungrateful, that she deserved what happened. The truth? Nobody outside the family knew, but within weeks, Marlene and Victor started spinning their version. Leonard sabotaged the wedding because he couldn't stand seeing Isabel happy. They told anyone who would listen that I was bitter, controlling, jealous, that I stole my daughter's special day. I kept quiet. Let them talk. I'd spent too many years defending myself against lies. This time, I wasn't going to waste my breath. 2 weeks after the ruined wedding, I received a letter from a lawyer. Isabel and Martin were suing me for damages, emotional distress, financial loss, intentional sabotage. They claimed I'd promised to pay for the wedding, then maliciously canceled everything. They wanted $50,000 in compensation. My hands shook as I read the papers. Part of me wanted to laugh at the absurdity. Another part wanted to cry. But I wasn't stupid. I called my attorney, the same man who'd guided me through the divorce years earlier. He reviewed the contracts. Everyone signed in my name. "They don't have a case," he said calmly. "In fact, if they push, we can countersue for defamation." Still, the lawsuit dragged on for months. Every court date was another knife in the gut. Seeing Isabel across the room, her eyes cold, refusing to look at me. Seeing Marlene whispering in her ear, Victor sitting smugly beside her. The judge eventually dismissed the case. The plaintiff's claims lack legal standing, but the damage was done. Word of the lawsuit reached my extended family. My sister called me in tears, asking why I'd do such a cruel thing. My cousins stopped inviting me to gatherings. Marlene had poisoned them too. She told everyone I was unstable, vindictive, that I'd ruined Isabel's future out of jealousy toward Victor. For a while, I stayed home, avoiding people. The shame clung to me like a shadow, but then, quietly, allies began to emerge. My brother pulled me aside one evening and said, "I don't believe her. I've known you my whole life. You're not the monster they're making you out to be." Even Monica, Isabel's best friend, reached out. "She's confused, Leonard. I don't think she meant to hurt you like this. But Marlene, she has her claws in deep." Meanwhile, Isabel's life unraveled. Without the wedding, she and Martin settled for a courthouse ceremony. No gown, no flowers, no guests. Just 2 signatures and a hollow kiss. Martin confided to me months later. Yes, he still came around, torn between loyalty to his wife and guilt over what had happened, that Isabel spiraled into depression. She blamed me for everything. Yet at the same time, she cried at night wishing I'd forgive her. The tension ate at their marriage. Martin admitted he'd considered leaving. I didn't marry Isabel to play referee between her and her parents, he told me once, eyes heavy with exhaustion. One autumn evening, nearly a year after the ruined wedding, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter from Isabel. Dad, I don't know how to start this. I'm angry at you. I hate you sometimes for what you did, but I also hate myself. I hate that I let Mom and Victor talk me into cutting you out. I hate that I didn't stand up for you. I hate that I called someone else my father when you were always there in the background, paying for everything, waiting for me to come back. I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me either, but I just want you to know, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The paper was stained in places where her tears had fallen. I sat at the kitchen table for hours, staring at that letter. I could have called her. I could have driven to her apartment, hugged her and said, "It's all right, we'll start over," but I didn't, because forgiveness is easy, trust isn't. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer with the old birthday cards and photos from before everything went wrong. Maybe one day I'll forgive her. Maybe one day we'll rebuild again. But for now, I need her to understand that actions have consequences. That replacing a father isn't as simple as swapping out names in a speech. Sometimes, late at night, I think about the promise I made the day Isabel was born. I'll never let you down. Maybe I failed that promise. Maybe I let her down when I canceled the wedding. Or maybe, just maybe, I kept it by teaching her the hardest lesson a father can teach. That love isn't unconditional when respect is stripped away. That you can't spit on someone's heart and expect them to keep carrying you. And that sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away.